Irene
Jasmine.
and we joined the leather clad community for a screening of Pillion, which is the new film written and directed by Harry Lighton, starring Harry Melling and Alexander Skarsgård.
The only thing I want for Christmas is just the things that I've got. Things that I've got.
Who's next?
Hi.
I will follow him.
But before we get into that, something just popped into my inbox, and I got to tell you, Jasmine,
Mm-hmm.
Apple TV is doing a new version of Cape Fear, and it's starring Javier Bardem. So you know that's going to be terrifying.
I'm ready for it. That sounds right up my alley.
Does it really?
Yes, I'm excited.
I am kind of excited too. So we'll see. Oh, it's got Amy Adams.
Get out of here. I love her. I love her.
Don't make fun of me. I know you looked it up already.
I did. It's
You
also
did.
being produced by Steven Spielberg.
And Scorsese.
Scorsese. Uh-oh, this is going to be interesting.
Oh my gosh. Also, CCH Pounder is in this. Oh,
And Patrick Wilson.
they are really coming for us with this. Okay, so is it a series? Hold on. It's a horror thriller. It is a series because the first 2 episodes are going to drop Friday, June 5th, 2026. So yeah, they're going a series of Cape Fear. Yeah, they're really coming for us with this. I'm already terrified. So let's move on. So Pillion. Okay, so Jasmine and I, because we did not know how to pronounce the name of this film, it's Pillion, which we thought was Pillion or Pillion, but it is actually Pillion. Pillion, which is a motorcycle or bicycle saddle for a passenger. And let me tell you something. Colin, played by Harry Melling, is definitely Pillion in this movie because Alexander Skarsgård completely owns him.
How do you get a man like that?
I have an aptitude for devotion.
I must follow him.
And it was nice seeing this film with the leather-clad community because we got to hear the pulse of it, what resonated with them, what, spoke to them. And I really liked that because they came out of it saying that this was a hugely authentic film that really reflected who they are. And I just enjoyed that. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed seeing all of the leather clad people and the energy and how excited they were to see this movie. So it definitely made me excited to see the movie. And it was just great to have that community feeling, that old school feeling of going to the movies with everybody and we're all in it together rather than just sitting at home watching it on the TV. So yeah, that was a really cool experience. And I enjoyed watching the movie with everybody.
I agree. So what I will say is that Harry Lighton is also a part of that community, but one of the things here is that jokingly, one of Kat, who is also a writer, one of her friends called it a dom-com. But you and I came out of it and we were like, that's not a romantic comedy at all. And I said it's a story about love and how first love can teach us to better love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so here's the setup. It is about young Colin. Well, he's not that young, but he is a very gentle, sweet, someone might say nebbish, I think is the right word. A man who lives with his parents and has a very loving and supportive family. He's out, he's gay, and his brother, his mom, his dad, and the entire are very supportive. And they're also playing matchmaker for him. They want him to find someone to love and to spend his life with. Now, at the bar one night, he happens to come up on, I probably should have chosen my words better, but he meets Alexander Skarsgård, who will, if you're not already gay, will make you gay or straighter, depending on, where you fall on that spectrum. But he meets him. He's very, very attractive. But what he doesn't know is that I think the host of our event called him a sir. So I'm going to call Alexander Skarsgård a sir. He doesn't know he's dominant and that he's looking for a submissive. And Colin very easily, seamlessly almost falls into being a submissive. And the movie does have a lot of comedy. It also has a harder edge. It's a sharp edged comedy. Can we call it that?
Yeah.
What were your like initial thoughts about the setup, about the storytelling, anything you want to tell me?
It definitely feels more like an exploration of Colin, the main character. He's like kind of finding himself more than a romantic comedy. You kind of said it was like a coming of age, even though he's an adult.
It's a sexual awakening.
Yeah, sexual awakening. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how I don't want to say seamless, but how eager Colin was just able to get into this role without really asking questions of the relationship, but also of himself, and then like how he deals with that.
And nothing can keep him from me. He is my destiny. I love
So it was just kind of interesting to see his journey, especially as someone who is not in that community. So I feel like I learned a little bit. I had like a little like peek behind, some curtains.
Yeah, I feel like the thing about this is, and I think we all experience some form of this, he found his community. And in finding his community, he came into his own because we
Hmm.
see Colin begin to flourish. Like he's thriving.
Hmm.
But then in any good movie, there's some conflict, there's some trouble. And that trouble is Alexander Skarsgård's Ray, who is also changed. They are both transformed by this relationship. And Ray is very cold, but Colin awakens something in him. And I feel like what he awakens is not what Ray wants without spoiling it. We really get to see that Ray has certain boundaries he doesn't want crossed. And his feelings for Colin push him over those boundaries.
Hmm. Yeah, you definitely have this push and pull of Colin opening up and Ray resisting. And like, that it does create a really interesting tension because, in your typical rom com, like they come together, there's like that moment of vulnerability and letting it all out on the table. But this is not so simple. It's not so easy.
Yeah, and it's very clear to us that Ray has built his life around not showing any vulnerabilities. He is almost the textbook, what they would teach you in a class about being a biker as far as the imagery that most
Mhm.
people have, right?
Right.
And that allows for no softness.
Hmm.
And like you said, that push and pull between the softness of Colin and the unyielding personality of Ray. It's very interesting to watch that happen. And to go back to what you said about how easily Colin falls into this culture, it's not easy, but it is a part of who he is. But what I thought was that this could be any subculture, any group, even a fandom. And I don't mean that it's not specific to the leatherclad community because it is, but because it's so specific, it almost becomes universal in that we can recognize our subcultures, our fandoms, our groups of all kinds, and it makes it hugely relatable. Like I could easily see this taking place in the anime community, like otakus. You see what I'm saying? It could be any group that comes together that forms a very specific subculture, identity, and language of their own. And it's not that it's interchangeable, it's not, but it's the understanding that you can find yourself when you find your tribe. That's what this
Hmm.
movie is. Colin finds his tribe. And the question becomes whether or not the relationship between he and Ray is sustainable. But Colin is forever changed by it. Did I say that in any way that makes sense?
Yeah, no, I know. I totally agree with you. And that's why I also liked it because, again, like you're saying, it is specific to the Little Clyde, but you can see this in any type of subculture. So, yeah, And that's what I'm saying. It feels like a coming of age and exploration, like a journey of one finding oneself when they find that tribe and they're able to, you know, really tap into a part of them that has been unexplored.
Absolutely. And you and I both, as much as we enjoyed it, and as much as we enjoyed seeing the leather-clad community feel so well represented, you and I also felt like something was missing. As we discussed this as we were
Mhm.
leaving the theater. But what was that for you?
I feel like I wanted a little bit more. I think I wanted, I guess, more pushing of Ray's boundary to see who he's hiding. And I felt like it was just like missing a little bit of like, I wanted more an emotional connection. But then I see where the movie was going and why there was like resistance or reservation in going that far.
In some ways, I feel some people might see Ray as someone who doesn't care, and I think people might miss all of the little clues that we're given
Hmm.
that Ray is being pushed and that his boundaries are breaking. He is showing vulnerability as much as he knows how.
Hmm.
And I wonder if that could have been, I don't want it to be like tied up with a neat bow or pushed into our faces, but I wonder if that could have been clearer. I feel like if we had understood Ray better, it would have helped us with Colin's journey as well. Since Colin is our main character and he's the one we're following, some not necessarily backstory, but some peephole into
Right.
who Ray is, because I feel with Harry Lighton, because he's so close to this, there's a deep satisfaction in representing yourself well, but in representing the communities as well as he did the Leatherclad community, some of the story beats weren't as well realized as they could have been. And so the film is not as satisfying as it ultimately can be emotionally,
Yeah.
because it's
And
fun to watch.
it is. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, like going back to our conversation, I also wanted to see Colin interact a little bit more with the leatherclad community, like with the biker gang. You see bits of it, like, when they wish him happy birthday. And it's like, these people are interesting and caring, and I kind of want to see more of that. I want.
Remember the director and writer, Harry Lighton, and this is based on a book by Adam Mars Jones, by the way. But Harry Lighton said that everybody outside of the main cast is actually leather clad.
Hmm.
And that was really important to him that it be authentic in that way. You would not know they weren't actors if you weren't told. They did an incredible job. Just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, and I wanted to see more of that. And I think if we could see Colin building these relationships maybe outside of Ray or like starting to dip his toe into that, how that would have affected the relationship as well. Because Ray seems so controlling.
Yeah.
So I wanted a little bit more of that.
Okay, that's funny because I was satisfied on that point. Um, I was, for me personally,
Hmm.
because we see so much of them, even though we don't necessarily. I mean, we do get some contentiousness in a place where
Yeah.
there's a little cattiness in there some
Yeah.
places, but and it's great what we see with their family because Colin's mom is so protective,
I
like
love her.
because she's got a terminal illness. Peggy, played by Leslie Sharp, and because of that illness, she does not want to leave her son in the hands of just anybody.
Hmm.
And that fierce mama bear energy worked for me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because it really highlights Ray's flaws in a way.
Yeah. But also, I think the subtraction of being in the closet or the family not liking it, removing that makes the romantic relationship and the sexual relationship that much sharper. And I think that people are going to be surprised how relatable this is because I think
Hmm.
people will go in expecting that it will be other for them,
Hmm.
like outside of their understanding. But I found, and I think you did too, that it was very relatable for all the reasons we're saying in this conversation. Like, it's just your tribe. And once you get that understanding, it's very easy to sink in and relate and feel what Colin is feeling as he's making his way through this.
And again, I like what you were saying. I like that we didn't have that angst of being in the closet because it let everybody be people and complex and not have to be like this stereotype and the same thing that we see over and over and over again.
Yeah, he was loved and he was
Yeah.
supported, and that gave him room to focus on what he wanted in his life. The beautiful thing about the relationship between Ray and Colin is that Colin benefits because however it ends between them, he has gained a sense of self and a strength to go out in the world and be whomever he wants to be, where before he seemed afraid to kind of leave his family shadow
hmm
or to speak about who he was or to seek what he truly wanted. And again, no spoilers in this, but by the end, he is no longer afraid.
Right.
I really liked that about this film. It has a certain beauty to it because as I said, it's a sexual awakening, but it's also about first loves and how they teach us to better love ourselves. And it's so well realized that theme, it's so well woven into it that I don't think we even know that that's what's happening until we get to the end.
Right.
And of course, Alexander Skarsgård is great, but we've got like a minute left, and I just want to talk about these prosthetics that they use in this movie. Girl, what was that? I mean, the piercing on the dangler. Can I?
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
Oh my gosh.
But I understand why it costs so much. Cause wow, whoever did that, whoever made that prosthetic, kudos to you. You did the thing.
Let's just say that Colin chokes on it, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. But who wouldn't? You'd have to be the mythical Pegasus not to choke on that.
You got a deep throat.
Oh my gosh, it was huge.
Gotta be Nancy Reagan and not choke on that.
And you give me your final review.
I would say go see it. It's a great time. It's a great love story, especially if you're a little bit romantic. It's very enjoyable, well acted, well directed. Yeah, go see it.
But be warned, this first love is sweet, but it's bittersweet and it is in transition.
Mhm.
Can I say that? This is a bittersweet first love, but it is well worth the journey. This has been Shireen and
Jasmine.
for Geek Girl Riot talking about the new film Pillion, which will come into theaters this month. And by this month, I mean February the 6th. That's a Friday. So love on up on this thing because you know A24 knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Lovely. That sounds like a plan. Bye then.